Hey guys, when I went to edit this video, I realized that it was extremely long and I wanted to make sure that I got all the information that I wanted to talk about out there and to share with you. So what is going to end up happening is that I'm going to actually cut this video in half and edit it so that it's actually a two-parter. So I know in the beginning of this video you're going to hear me say that this is part 1 of 3. It's probably going to end up being about probably part 1 of 6, because I think what's going to end up happening is that each part of this that I'm talking about is going to end up having to be split into 2. So I just wanted to give you that heads up before you start the video so you don't get confused by the title of this or what I'm talking about in the end. Thanks. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Last 50. My name is Mary and this is me chronicling my journey to lose my last 50 pounds. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel and make sure that you tap that button so that bell so that you can get updated every time there's new content on my channel. Today I wanted to talk about how my morbid obesity ruined my body. This is part 1 of what was going to be a 2-part series, but actually now it's going to be 3, because the more I sat and thought about this and thought about what I wanted to talk about, the more I kind of sectioned it off into different topics. So today we're going to talk about the first of the plastic surgery, body contouring surgeries I had, and that whole experience and what it was like. Before I get started, I just want to make a disclaimer. I am a librarian. I am not a medical professional. I'm happy to answer any questions people have about the experience of having the surgery and what it was like to recover from the surgery, and even, how to decide about going into it and choosing a plastic surgeon. But as far as any kind of medical questions about the actual procedures or anything that has to do with your health or any kind of medically related questions or topics, please go seek the advice of an actual medical professional. I cannot answer those questions and I would not feel comfortable answering those questions. Aside from that, I'm also going to say that there will be some images and video of post-surgical sites on my body, so I will make sure to warn you beforehand and give you a timestamp of what you can forward to. I will flash it on the screen if you do not like to see stuff like that. It's nothing really gory. It's literally just like looking at stitches and stuff like that, but for some people it's a little too much. I get it. So I will definitely give you a warning on that. So one of the things I wanted to talk about before we delve into this is kind of the rationalization behind why I said what I said, in terms of titling this how my morbid obesity ruined my body. And when I was first thinking about this title, it occurred to me that ruin may be a little bit of a harsh word to use, but the more I thought about it, in my case, that's what I felt. And I'm going to explain a little bit of why I feel that way. I've been morbidly obese my entire life. I was obese when I had my children. I had my children later in life. I had my children when I was 37 and 39. And at that point, I was considered advanced maternal age, which is another story in its entirety, which we'll get into in another video, because being fat and pregnant is also really fun. But anyway, I had, like I said, I was older. I'm older. I had my children later in life, and I've been fat my entire life. So my body has kind of taken, at least for 43 years, has taken kind of a beating. And my skin especially has been stretched to, I wouldn't say max capacity, because I'm sure I could have been fatter, but, it was max capacity for me. I was up to 418 pounds and I was huge. So my every place on my body was big. My fat was kind of evenly distributed, although my midsection was probably a little bit bigger than the rest. But anyway, being that I was older when I started losing weight. And again, like I said, like I've said previously, I didn't really start losing weight seriously until after I had my children. So having my children later in life and being older, my skin lost pretty much all its elasticity, and it wasn't going to come back from any kind of surgery, any kind of weight loss that I was going to go through. No amount of sit-ups, no amount of weightlifting was going to be enough to undo the amount of loose skin that my body had because I was heavy for so long. And when I say I hate to be like it ruined my body, but I really feel like it did ruin my body. And just go with me for a second. You know, your self-esteem kind of takes a huge hit when you're already overweight, and being morbidly obese, it really tanks. You know, it's really hard to look in the mirror and find something that you like about yourself. It was extraordinarily hard for me to look in the mirror at all, every time, and be happy with anything that I saw. I hated the way I looked, and you know, I didn't find anything that I liked when I looked in my reflection. Now, if you can imagine for a minute dropping 285 pounds and feeling like you've done this major accomplishment, and then you're still looking in the mirror, and now you're looking at my dog. Now you're looking at all this skin that's kind of sagging and hanging. It's very loose, and it's just not attractive to you, and you're just kind of, makes it kind of hard for you again to look in the mirror and even be proud of what you've accomplished. And I know that's not true of everybody. There are plenty of people out there who've lost massive amounts of weight, who have the extra skin situation, and it doesn't bother them, and more power to you. I wish that was me. I wish I could look at it that way and not be upset, and not still feel extremely uncomfortable in my body. I feel that every person should have the right to do what they need to do to their bodies, in terms of surgically, diet, physically, whatever it is that they need to do in order to make themselves feel comfortable in their skin. Go for it. If you have the means, go for it. And I'm very fortunate that I was able to do the two big procedures that I've had done. And I'm really grateful that I had that opportunity, and I can't even begin to describe how much better I feel about my body and myself, and how I look in the mirror now and see something that I actually like, see someone I actually like, see my body in a way I like. So that kind of is the rationale that got me to the title of this, and also kind of the rationale, or the major rationale, that was behind my saying I want to go through with having skin removal surgery. Some other things that were influenced my decision to do this: I was starting to get rashes, like heat rash, from the areas of skin that were sagging and rubbing against my other body parts, and that was becoming very uncomfortable. And then in terms of my workouts and what I was physically able to do, it was starting to impede my progress and prohibit me from doing certain kinds of exercises effectively, and even feeling good, or feeling like I had good form while doing them. So I really wanted to get rid of some of this extra skin so that I could actually move better, and just feel like I could exercise and walk and lift things and just basically live my life and go about my day without feeling like this extra skin was in the way, and without getting heat rash, or without getting redness, soreness, itchiness, everything that comes with that. So the first procedure, which is so funny because so many people were like, "Are you going to do your stomach first? Or are you going to do this?" And actually, what I really wanted to do were my arms. My arms were very were kind of the thing that I always looked at. It was something when I worked out, especially if I did upper body, I was constantly looking at in the mirror. It was something that was a point of focus to me, and I just, no matter what I saw, I always saw them. And I think knowing that I lost so much weight and that I had been strength training and felt like I couldn't even see muscle definition in a way that I really wanted to, because I had all this extra skin hanging there, really kind of pushed me to want to do a brachioplasty first. There was a lot of extra skin, particularly in this area, this area of my arms, like this underarm area on both sides. I believe my right arm was a little bit worse than the other one in terms of excess skin. That was the other thing. They weren't equal and they weren't symmetrical. So that kind of bothered me too. So going into this, I will link at the bottom an overview of what a brachioplasty or arm lift or skin removal surgery from the arms is, and I'll link to like basically what the procedure is, and what the purpose is, etc. I'll also link to a couple of resources that I think are helpful in terms of how to select your plastic surgeon. And right off the bat, I think that's the first thing I want to talk about is it's really important that you find a plastic surgeon that you're comfortable with and whose work you're happy with in terms of other patients. And it's really important if you can meet other patients and talk to them. But also you really have to feel like you and your plastic surgeon are meshing well together and you're on the same page. I looked at several different surgeons. I talked to several different surgeons, went for consults. I will tell you that the reason why I chose my surgeon was because of his attitude towards the entire process of me wanting to change the way my body looked. He was extraordinarily supportive and, excited and happy for me that I had lost this weight. He did not look at me as somebody who walked into his office, got naked, and he just immediately was like, you need X, Y, and Z, and we're going to do this, and this is what you need to look. He took the time to be quiet, to listen to me and what I wanted or how I felt about my body, and then basically said, this is what I can offer you to help you. It was very much a, let me help you feel really good about yourself and work with you to make yourself look like the way you want to, and to help you feel comfortable in your body. And that attitude was what sealed the deal for me, and I knew that this was the guy that I wanted. And I have to say that he's proven himself as a wonderful doctor and wonderful surgeon throughout the entire process for both of my procedures. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So one of the things I will say is not many. I have had, over the course of my experience with plastic surgery, I've been part of two different insurance companies, major insurance companies. Neither one will cover skin removal surgery. They do not deem it as a necessary surgery. I'm sure if I could have documented a reoccurring, long-standing medical problem that would have necessitated the removal of the skin, I probably could have gotten them to pay for it, but it would have taken quite some time. It would have taken more time than I wanted to wait, so I ended up paying out of pocket for the procedures. Brachioplasty, I will say it cost, the average costs that I was quoted were pretty similar, between $7,000 and $9,000 to have it done. it's an outpatient procedure. Mine did not last very long. It didn't take very long. I had also had liposuction done on on my sides. I had, going into this, I knew that after I had this procedure done, eventually I was going to have a breast lift and augmentation as well as a tummy tuck in preparation for that surgery. And for the breast lift and augmentation, he actually did lipo on the sides and was going to go back into those incisions when he did that surgery. So I did have some extra additional procedure done there. So that did cost, we did pay out of pocket. And like I said, you can check with your insurance companies. Most places probably will not cover it. So be prepared for that. The other thing I will say is that in terms of recovery, it's so important that you have somebody with you who will be able to stay with you for at least, I would say a week, if not 2 weeks, whether that's your partner, your spouse, a good friend, a relative, somebody who can be with you, because your arms, you're not going to be able to move them very much at all. And also, you never know what's going to happen. There are things that can happen 4 or 5 days after surgery that aren't expected, that you may need assistance with. Get your area of recovery that you're going to stay in, whether it be your bedroom, whether it's going to be a spare room, something, get that prepped and ready to go. Before, I had spent my entire recovery sleeping and sitting in a recliner. It was actually the best scenario that I could come up with. The doctor actually liked it too. I was able to keep my arms propped up like this under lots of pillows, and literally this is how my arms stayed for about 3 days, 3 or 4 days, because you really can't move them very much, and you want to keep them a little bit elevated. My doctor does not use drains, which I was thankful for, because drains can be very painful, but he does believe we did use lots of compression, and most surgeries will require that. If you have a brachioplasty, you'll probably have to wear a compression garment. They kind of look like this. It's kind of like a sports bra with sleeves, and obviously it's tight and it just basically has a hook and eye on it, and you just zip, hook it up, and that's how it is. And it doesn't need to be like super, super tight. Like this looks tight. It is, it is definitely skin tight, but you have to remember you're going to have bandaging probably along your underarms, and so it's going to be tight regardless. So you have this compression garment. I wore the compression garment for 2 to 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks. And then once that was over, I graduated to just compression sleeves. The best place to get these kind of garments, I have to say, is Amazon. There are lots of places that sell them. They can be expensive. Amazon has very good pricing for these. You don't need anything fancy. You just need it to be compression. I highly recommend getting something that either zips up or has the hook and eye. You don't want anything that goes over your head or anything like that. Think about what you are going to be able to be putting on and off pretty easily. The day of the surgery, make sure you wear loose clothing that's really easy to come off, button-down shirt. Someone else is going to be dressing you, so wear stuff that's comfortable. Some other stuff about recovery. You will swell up. My arms, my hands did swell up. I will insert some pictures of that. It didn't happen probably until the 2nd or 3rd day. They pump you with a lot of saline while they're doing these procedures, so you'll feel like you're swelling, and then eventually it'll stop and you'll pee forever. So don't freak out if you've gained some weight when you have the surgery or after you've had the surgery, because you are retaining a lot of fluid. And those are the kind of major things. As far as supplies go, they should be sending you home with any kind of bandages or supplies and instructions for what you need for, you know, the days after your surgery. If you need other medical supplies, again, Amazon was the best place to get these items as far as I was concerned. You could get them same day or next day often. The pricing was very good, and it was just really easy to do that. With these compression garments, what I found was, since it's kind of like a sports bra, so you have this band that goes around you, depending upon how your stitching is. Like I said, I had the lipo going down the sides, so I did have incisions here, getting lots of big gauze pads and shoving them underneath there so it wasn't rubbing against, and shoving one in the armpit area so you weren't rubbing against was very helpful and made it more comfortable. Hey everybody, that seemed like a good place to end that video. So that's the first half of my discussion about my brachioplasty. So that's part one of the 6 that are going to happen. I hope that you found it informative and helpful, and if you're considering having skin removal surgery, or if you're just considering having plastic surgery in general, please tune in for the second part of this, where I will talk about the actual process, the procedure of what the brachioplasty is, and what the actual recovery looks like in terms of where they're cutting, the suturing, the nerves, etc. So that will also have video and some photos so that you can see for real what it looks like. So I hope this was helpful. Please tune into the next one. Thanks very much, guys.